Here we are for our master. I don't want to start laughing already. Okay. I told you guys that, when you get into a death and dying class with me, it just gets wackier by the day. Anyway, so always have your Kleenex, but be available to laugh. And speaking of Kleenex, I have to tell you, going through and seeing those bucket lists, were those incredible, Claudia?
Amazing.
Yeah. So amazing. And still the love letters keep coming in, and they're absolutely beautiful. They're beautiful. And I'm just so impressed with everybody that's just stepping forward. And I know there are a lot of you that have probably written a love letter and haven't put it up, or you think about the love letter. And it's important that you're thinking about the love letter, but I also want you to know that you're not going to lose that connection if you write. There's not going to be some closure like, oh, the disconnect will happen. I think that that's something that really happens for us a lot. Like, oh, if I do this thing to create closure on this, then that connection will go away. And it's kind of more the opposite, if that makes sense. And we'll get to that tomorrow. But today, we have a lot to do. And for those that are new to me, I'm Joan Ranquet, and I've been an animal communicator for about 25 years. And I'm an energy healer, an author, a TEDx speaker, and founder of Communication with All Life University. And the university has been going for 10 years, and it has also been, I've been teaching for 21 years. So at this point, I wanted to do something special for the 10-year anniversary, and my mission has always been to empower others to deeply connect with all life so that together we can give voice to those who can't speak for themselves and ultimately raise the frequency and heal the planet. So I put a number on it this year, as many of you know. I put the number 1 million animals. I want to help 1 million animals and their people. And as a result, and I knew I couldn't do it by myself, so I started a lot of these trainings, these classes. I have much bigger classes and ways in which you can continue to study with me if you want to go beyond this masterclass. But in the meantime, I put the number 1 million animals on it, and I know that some of you are starting to see your mission. So I may be part of your mission, but I know you're part of my mission, and I want to thank you. So anyway, we have a lot to do today. Is anyone coming on?
Oh, yeah. So...
And today my coffee cup is Raven.
And there's a raven behind you.
And there's a raven behind me. And there's actually a raven just flew by.
How appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Pete Martinez, greetings from Dallas. Cindy Coleman, hi. Michelle Shell. Sarah Holden from Michigan. Fran Photo. Leslie Williams. Darlene McLeod. Yeah, we got a lot of people.
That's awesome. And
Gita, I think it is, from Denmark.
Cool.
Cindy Gantz Turner. Meg Brown, Lauren Kinney, Jane Hirata, I think it says, good morning from Hawaii, everyone. I really enjoyed the replays, but happy to be live today.
Oh,
welcome.
Hooray. Thank you.
Connie's watching. Hi, Connie.
Hi, Connie.
Carla Clark Taylor, Tony Ann Ventrella, Nina Peoples, Carla Clark says, I've cried all week, but I know it's healing.
Oh. That's, yeah, definitely.
Tony Ann Ventrella Wilson.
I'm going to be seeing a lot of people. Today's the last day of Animal Communication Level 1. So there's a few people on this call that I will be jumping to. I'll be a few minutes late, just FYI. I'll be late for class, but it's because we're here.
Yeah, Kathy was in my class last night.
Yeah, hello.
Sorry, Kathy.
Yeah. We had advanced animal communication last night. It was a good one.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was an intense situation, but we're working through issues with animals and their people. Okay, so I'm glad everyone's here, and it's going to be a fun class. And I think one of the things that I love to talk about the most is this is I tell people all the time, I love energy healing more than anything in the world. I love it so much I wrote a book about it. I've had so many miraculous experiences with energy healing, but I have to say that animal communication is still my favorite modality. And The reason it's my favorite modality is because the animal feels really, 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 really heard. And often the behavior or maybe something will shift because they feel heard, and there's just, a release involved with feeling heard. And so what happens, a lot of us here are compassionate. A lot of us here have probably had some sort of background in healing, or interest in it, right? A lot of us here have had a lot of experience with animals. We've volunteered in shelters. We've done a lot of things. And then there's probably something else that we are, and that is we tend to be fixers. How many people here feel like they need to fix things? Claudia's raising her hand. I'm a recovered fixer.
I'm a recovered fixer.
Guilty, Christina Hope, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Tony and Ventrella Wilson. Cindy Gantz Turner. Oh yeah, they're all coming in now.
Yeah, I knew they would. I know.
Cousin has me, definitely.
I know your type. So, and
oh my God, it's literally.
Let me see. That's funny.
Here it starts here, and they're just all coming in.
Oh my God, I've got Claudia's phone. So funny. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and Paula's gonna know this exercise here we're gonna do in a minute. Yeah, this is awesome to see. Okay, so that's good that we're all owning up to it, because
They say awareness is the first step.
yeah, awareness is the first step, exactly. But I want you to realize that, sometimes listening, and so when you've been in a situation, and this is really, there's a lot we're going to kind of look at here today, but one of the things that I really want to look at is how much do we listen to others when they're going through something, and how heard have we felt when we have something going on? And to me, like I said, listening is the first healing step. But it's always hard to do because we want to jump in and help. And what happens is often we can overwhelm someone. So I want you to go ahead and think about your most favorite go-to thing. Like for me, my go-to thing would be vitamin C. And I'm going to have, so think about your favorite go-to thing. And if you can, I want you to consider, if you're not at work in a cubicle or in a big office, if you have an office and you can shut the door, I want you to consider saying out loud in a moment what your go-to thing is. And I want you to sit with your go-to, whether it's a vitamin, or it could be call a therapist, it could be, you need to call my psychic friend, you need to, you know what I mean? Like,
Meditate.
You need to meditate. They're so good. So think about your favorite go-to. And Claudia, I want you to just make up a disease. Say it into the phone. Say it into the speaker. Just say, I have blah, blah, blah.
I have fibromyalgia.
Okay, and I want everybody to sit and type in right now what your go-to. And I want you to put your go-to in so fast, and I want you to start saying it out loud. And I want you to keep saying, I have fibromyalgia.
I have fibromyalgia.
Let me see the phone. I'm going to watch this.
I have fibromyalgia.
And start typing in your responses.
Okay, so margaritas.
Oh my God. Okay, CBD. Here we go.
Yeah, I have fibromyalgia.
Yeah, Reiki.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have fibromyalgia.
Someone said TV. Chocolate. These are good. Keep going, you guys. Vitamin D. Vitamin D, essential oils. Okay. Let me cook you Indian food. Hey, Stephen, I'm coming over. Okay.
I'll take that.
Yeah. My go-to thing is meditate. Okay. Meditation. energy healing. Okay, do you see these coming in?
Oh yeah,
And
I'm getting overwhelmed.
Yeah. So why don't you tell everybody how you're really feeling by experiencing this right now?
I'm getting overwhelmed, and I want to shut down because I'm not feeling heard. I'm feeling bombarded, and I want to like shut down and walk away.
Does everyone hear that?
Like I want to turn it. Like I literally want to turn off the comments right now.
And she's about to start crying. Here's your daily
because that
Kleenex.
wasn't a made-up thing. So
Yeah. No, I know. And did everyone hear that?
I'll take the ice cream though.
Yeah, I'll take the Indian food. I'm coming over, Stephen.
Wine. Those are our people.
Yeah. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is, so is anybody responding to the fact that they heard that you got overwhelmed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cindy Gens Turner says you've been categorized and not taken seriously.
Yeah. Exactly. And what happens when we have the answer is we've now turned her fibromyalgia into me. And there's two reasons for that. One, we like to help. We're fixers, remember? Two, it's really uncomfortable to sit with this. Right? It's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's really uncomfortable to sit and listen to someone and look them in the eye and go, wow, I hear you.
Yep.
So, was anybody responding to this?
Oh God, yeah. So let me go back to who someone just, it's showing up on your phone first. Stephen Arnold says, I am often told when someone reaches out to me that they don't want me to try to fix them or the problem, but just to listen to them. But my instinct is to jump in and fix things.
Yeah. And we have to look at why.
Michelle Shell says she felt overwhelmed herself.
Yeah. Okay, so we have to look at why we have this need to do this. And this comes into play with our animals, and this is going to be really a great setup for what we're going to do tomorrow. But I want you now to just take a deep breath, and I'm going to let Claudia say it again, and I want you to just really listen without an agenda and without a need to fix. So go ahead, Claudia, and say it again.
I have fibromyalgia.
And say it again.
I have fibromyalgia.
And I want everybody to just hear that silence of really listening to her. Like, really listening to someone is almost like a meditation, right? Did that feel different for everybody? Is anybody...
So, well, we give it a chance to show up. Yita said, I wanted to say some more. I'd like to listen to you and find out what it's like to be you.
Nice.
She said that before we even did.
Yeah.
So, Robin Aaliyah says, yes, oh my God. Tony Ann Manchella says, hang in there, we're here. Kathy Mary Boyer says, it's definitely hard to sit. I think I'm assuming, Kathy, you meant to sit and just listen and not try and fix.
Oh, wait till the fall intensive, Kathy.
Yeah. Michelle Shell says, I know why I do it because I don't want anyone to suffer.
Right. I mean, we have good... It's because we want to help. And it's uncomfortable for us to just accept that this is happening over there. And when we can take a step back and breathe, the correct thing for Claudia will show up, whether I have the answer or not.
Gita says, tell me what it's like to be you right now in this moment.
Okay, go ahead, tell us.
What it's like to be me right now in this moment?
Yeah, because you have it handled so well, but she found the correct way and not from being bombarded by a bunch of stuff, right?
And I fall off track, but yeah. When people just hold the space for me like that, there's a release. There's like the tension releases, and I don't know, it's weird. It's almost like I can separate myself from it and just be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and when you're really in that just being, so much more can heal. So much more can automatically shift.
Christina Hope says that whenever someone tells her about a health problem or they or their animals have, her first response is to give them advice or send them to a place where they can get help. I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah, I used to be.
I have to stop myself, like emergency brake. Lee Pearl says that her heart feels heavy. And they're all saying what they would say to me. Cindy Harris says, I used to be such a fixer that every time I went to the grocery store, people thought I worked there.
Oh my God, Cindy,
Sorry.
that is so funny.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Cindy, we have to have a Leo birthday fest, FYI.
So Jane Hirata says, from Hawaii, she says, yes, I felt it in my heart and wanted to connect with her. The first time it went to my head and I wanted to do something to help her.
That's so well said. So the first time it hits our head and we are like Cindy and we work at the grocery store, even though we don't, but we can find everybody the fried tomatoes. But, you know, in the meantime, when it hits our heart, we really hear it. And when somebody feels really heard, they feel held, they feel, like you said, a release, right?
Yeah. Well, Karen Olson says, as soon as there was silence and holding, the pain that had accumulated in my stomach prior eased immediately.
Yeah.
You're an empath.
Yeah.
Because that's what I felt. It was like, when you asked me to say it,
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
like, I'm not going to make something up because I don't want to bring anything in, but I'm also like, she put me on the spot.
I thought we were going to talk about parasites, but I live on a farm. Just admit it. We all have them. Anyway.
Yeah, so hard to just not say anything. Kathy, I can't pronounce your middle name, Serpin. Eleanor says, it's so uncomfortable to be with someone else's suffering. By the way, Kathy, I'm sorry I butchered your last names. Nanette Belgian says, I hear it, I understand because I have had Crohn's disease for most of my life. I have to tell people it's okay, I've dealt with this for a long time. That's also another thing. It's like, it's okay.
I got this.
Yeah. You don't need to take it on.
And then, so here's a great exercise, is to really listen. But also, I want you to think about, like, when my friends tell me what to do, I just say I didn't ask.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite was being on a dolphin trip and having one of my, I used to take people on dolphin trips, having one of my guests who was a psychic tell me, my spirit guides are telling me that you blah, 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 whatever it was. And I was like, those are your spirit guides, not mine. So, it's like, what I've trained my friends to do is to say, do you want my advice? And I can say, no, I'm still processing. And then they don't have to take that personally because they know I wouldn't hear it anyway. Or I can say, yes, I'm open to listening now. And I think the more that we become aware of how much we want to listen, be heard, then we're going to be aware of how much we want to help other people feel heard. And hold off on that, I mean, even if you're a really bad fixer, you could even say something like, I want to fix, but I really want to hear you. And if you are somebody that does have great resources, you can say, I've got great resources, so just ask me when you're ready. Or not, not even say anything, because God knows I've got great resources for just about anything on the planet. I mean, truthfully, right?
Yeah.
I do. And I don't tell people who's in my Rolodex.
You asked me once, I was telling you something and you said, do you want my advice? And I said, yes. And you said, okay, look me in the eyes. I'll never forget that. But you waited and asked me. And I know that if I had said no, you would have been fine and dropped it.
Yeah. Because Once I let go of fixing things, I let go of my agenda to fix, and I really, really, really try to walk that talk. And so I work very hard. Now, that said, people have phone sessions with me. I mentor people. I taught advanced animal communication last night. I have 2 classes of the end of the beginning, level 1. So, I am in a teacher mode. You guys are here, but you've come onto this class, right? You've committed to it, so it is an agreement already that I'm here to help. But when I'm walking down the street, I'm the village idiot. Seriously. Especially at the airport. It's my favorite thing to be. It's my hobby. Anyway, boarding horses, people love to tell each other what to do, and I used to just like, la, 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 la. So, because it's my time off. On top of it all, it's my time off. So, if you're hoping or already are in a healing capacity or working with animals, it's certainly a most wonderful thing to give yourself that time off and really just be a friend. But is anyone responding to this?
Oh, yeah.
Join the Village Idiot Club. We'll have a whole new Facebook group. You think I'm kidding.
So hold on.
I am kidding. I'm just over here talking to myself while you're reading comments.
I know. Oh, Christina Hope said something that I was actually thinking. She said, sometimes people don't want to hear others' advice. I'm having to learn to shut up. And that used to affect my relationships. And I had to rebuild them because of that.
Because you used to give advice a lot?
Oh, yeah.
I can imagine.
I come from a family of shutters, so, yeah.
I can only imagine what Claudia was like.
Oof.
But Claudia, can you imagine what I was like?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I haven't been that way in a long time. So it actually, yeah.
And then Kathy Boyer says, it's hard because I tend to feel it with the person and that's uncomfortable. Yes.
Yeah, and Kathy, oh my God, if that's not the biggest lesson, is also finding, you know what? I in my spare time, I read about grief. But I was really reading about a hospice center, because, I'm working on this book on animals in transition, and all of this is just rich for me. And you weren't here last year for the fall intensive, but we shot a lot of stuff for the documentary, and I've shot a lot of stuff since, and I'm always kind of reading about grief, any opportunity, how others are doing hospice, things like that. And this guy, in the opening of his book, he talks about how the first thing you have to do as a hospice worker is learn how to just be and know that it isn't yours. It isn't yours to take on. So with what Kathy said, I tend to feel it like we need to find a way then to just feel our own feelings about it. Like, oh, that makes me sad, or oh, that is sad to hear. I'm sad to hear that. Or really look at your own feelings in it and don't merge and mesh your feelings with them, right? Becoming separate from them. It's not yours to take on. It's Claudia's. My piece in this is to be her friend and listen to that. And when you tell me your ailments, I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, it's a powerful thing. That little bird just flew right by. So this is part of listening to our animals also at this end, with these bucket lists, with these places that are uncomfortable for us to know, that our dog is having a tough time breathing in this position here at the end, or our cat can't jump on the counter anymore. We never wanted them on the counter, but now we wish they were on the counter. Like all these places where it's really, we don't have to take it on for them. If we can take on what is ours, then we can really help them in a profound way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Is anyone following?
Yeah, so It's gonna kick in a minute, but hold on. So many comments. Sorry, everybody. We will get to all the comments. If you feel you weren't heard or didn't get your question answered, please post it on the page with hashtag question, or you can email Joan at assist@joanranquet.com. As you can see, there's a ton of comments, so bear with me. So Gigi Michelle Velasco says, I'm a natural empath and sometimes it's hard to know if feelings are mine and what belongs to someone else.
That's so important. And that's going to be like the exercise of life is, I walk around all day going, is this mine? Is this mine? Is this mine? Is this mine? So many people are going to the chiropractor for their spouse's bad back. I used to, back in the day, I would do like 50 million animals a day on the phone, sitting at that computer, or I would go up to, I lived in Seattle, Denver, LA, and Florida, so I know like the Wellington community of horses, the Seattle, all the barns up there. So I used to go and do horse after horse after horse after horse after horse. And I went to this barn one day, and I had just flown in early that morning. I get in the car of my friend, and she's a chiropractor for horses, and she was taking me around for the day. And I got in the car, and I was like, Jesus Christ, Laura, you need to fix your back. I can't even ride in the car with you. I could feel her sciatica all the way. And the minute I said that, it was gone, so I knew it wasn't mine. But if you could just sit and spend the day going, ow, is that even mine? And that's physical, that's emotional, and it's thoughts, right? Like when you catch yourself with a crazy thought, or don't be around your chocolate aholic friends when you know that you're trying to be on a diet. Or, you know what I mean? Like, because you can't help it. You're setting yourself up for failure. But the thing with physical feelings, too, is that it could be our animals. When I do a scan in the morning before I do the scalar wave, so I check in with myself. And if I feel something, especially when I had older animals, when I feel something in my hips or my back, I would check in with like Olivia or Isabella, like, this isn't mine. I don't have a bad back. I don't have weird wonky hips. Whose is this? And if it wasn't one of the dogs, by the time I fed the horses, I'd be like, oh yeah, Gabrielle or Raleigh or whoever it was, right? Like a lot of the stuff in our bodies isn't ours. What are people saying?
So Darlene McLeod says what you're talking about. As an empath, I've had to learn to be able to discern which feelings aren't mine. This is an important skill, which is what you just said.
Yeah, and it's something that we go through a lot in the school.
Gigi Michelle Velasco says, when I am with an animal that is dying, my animal, sometimes I don't know if I am hearing them or my own fears.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's probably a combination.
Leslie Metcalf. I just put my boy Cuckoo down yesterday, and I'm positive he communicated clearly to me that it was time.
That's lovely. And that's, so one of the things when we're in that state, when we're in those end stages, I call it the state of grace. And the reason I call it the state of grace is a lot of times you're aware that the animal companion has drifted off and maybe is checking in with the party in heaven with the other dogs, or, your dead grandfather or somebody, right? Like you can see them drifting and in another world, and then they have moments of really being back in their body and being here, and they drift out and they stare into space and they come back and they do all sorts of things that are, not their normal thing. But what happens, like with Olivia, I mean, there were a couple weeks that I dropped everything. I dropped everything for about 2 weeks. And the only time I left the house was to take, that time I had Isabella and Delilah on a walk. And in doing that, I was exercising them, but I literally probably had the same outfit on. Yeah, I'm that person. Went to a Catholic girls' school. It's really easy for me to just call it a uniform. Anyway, I was, probably wearing the same thing for days. I probably had like rescue hair, that hair that you can never, like, people start to get because they're in a crazy mode. Yeah, it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty. And none of it was pretty, right? None of it was, it was hard. It was repositioning her so she could breathe. It was all of this stuff. But she was not ready to go. And in that state of grace, and I've seen this a million times with a million clients, what happens is we drop everything, and so then we really question whether they're ready to go or whether they want to stay. And part of that is because we've dropped everything, it's so delicious because all we are is love at that point. So that state of grace is like one of the yummiest things that we could be or do or have or experience right at the end of their life. And so in many ways, creating the bucket list yesterday was, how do we have these kind of state of grace moments while they're still alive? How do we incorporate a state of grace into our world? And it is that place of just listening and not doing something. And that's why when I said that, like, I have my mornings where I put the alarm on earlier than when I'm supposed to get up so that I have this big love fest. It is literally, there's no words except, you're so cute. Or, hey, gorgeous. Delilah's coming over. Delilah, did you want to come up? Yeah, we love our mornings. Come on, up, up. Up, 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 up. You can do it. Up, up. Oh. So good. So anyway, it's like this. It's like this. Me and smelly farm dogs and cats. But that state of grace is so important because it's almost that time. It is that time for unfinished business, and it's that time that they have with each other. I can't even tell you how much of a mentor both my dogs were for this one. So having that time with Olivia was everything. And so the state of grace is a really important thing. And is anyone commenting?
Oh yeah, everybody's loving state of grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the yummiest time. And so creating that state of grace is important when you're not, even when nothing's pressing.
How do you have a state of grace without him?
It's going back to the exercise we did on Monday of really remembering the great things, remembering the things you loved and allowing yourself those moments of grieving, of being in the sad space, but also finding the joy, like finding a way to be buoyant with it all. To me, like I would say that when my sister died, my grief was like a cement wall. And then it just led straight into depression, right? Because I didn't recognize where I could, bounce with the waves, and that it was an ebb and flow. And if I could fix anything, it would be that I would love to fix that for you to know how buoyant you can be through this, that it is a horrific loss. And I still, like 3 years later, think to myself, I don't know how I'm surviving without Olivia because somebody should be managing this shit. You know what I mean? Like, I lost the manager of my life. And so, believe me, it's hard. But, and I apologize for my potty mouth. I've been so good in these, really good. But if you get in a classroom here, just know it's going to fly. But anyway, right, Kathy? Right, Paula? Right, Cindy? There's
and effing no. It's my favorite. Carrie Randall says, oh my God, and going overboard in state of grace possibly with Cody, because I didn't get it with my parents as they both passed tragically recently. Have to trust it, need to know if I should keep going with Cody. Thank you for this. Wow,
I think what a gift, though. What a gift. I wouldn't question, because, it goes back to nobody can die a moment before or a moment after they're supposed to. So I think Cody's giving you an incredible gift.
Yeah.
And all of us. It makes me want to cry.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just how wonderful that soul knows what, it's like balm for your soul at this point.
Michelle Shell says, I love this so much because with my dog passing 2 weeks ago, I failed miserably at State of Grace. I know I can do better next time.
Well, you didn't fail. I mean, I did it right with people, but I didn't do it right. There's plenty that I don't feel like I did it right. But I feel like we always get the opportunity. You'll have the opportunity to do it again if you have animals, And some of them, like my dog Isabella, just did not want anything dragged out. She didn't want a big, she just literally died the day after she was diagnosed. And they told me I had the weekend. So there I was Friday night, and I saw her breathing funny. And you know what? The doctor said, don't let her play, because Abby was a teeny puppy, and Delilah, and she played all the time. And she must have been 13, and she was the best nanny on the planet. And she said, the doctor said, don't do anything, the vet said, don't do anything taxing so that you don't lose her, so she doesn't bleed out. And she walked in, and the first thing she did was go and play with Delilah. Like, I watched her make that choice, right? And I didn't even think, and I stopped her. And an hour later, I saw her breathing funny, and I got all the animals in, and we were there for her last breath. I mean, it was like, wow, talk about choosing, So she didn't want a big thing, but she wanted us all there. And she didn't want to drag this out. And there are plenty plenty of souls that make that choice too. So you'll have the opportunity to do it again, because it's not like that was your last animal. And everybody gives us the opportunity to almost correct it or to get better at it. So much so that some people that take my class, they know that they want to get better at it, and they want to have an animal hospice. I can't even tell you how many people tell me after taking my animals in transition class that they feared that class the most, and now they want to run an old dog hospice, so yeah, so we always will get the opportunity to do it again. Nobody's getting out of here alive, right?
No. Meg Brown says, I have been most of my rabbits as they passed at home. I've been with them. I'm assuming that's what she said. There was no state of emergency. Many people who saw my special needs paraplegic bunnies thought I was being cruel by not choosing euthanasia for them. I trusted our hearts in that state of grace.
Yeah, that is a state of grace, and it's none of anybody's business. I didn't cuss, but
well, just so you
telepathically
know, a lot of people are saying they love the realness, and no censoring. I love the realness. No apologies needed.
Okay.
Cindy Harris, of course, we know. She joins in your potty mouth. And Michelle Schumann says, they say really smart people cuss a lot. Since I have one, I believe it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep. So
I agree.
Jenny Bratt says, I love the state of grace. I didn't call it that at the time, but I did this with my dog, Obi. The most incredible time ever I had with him before he died. I was totally with him and very thankful. I was so determined to do this for me and him.
And you can do it little bits every day for yourself, because if you think about it, I mean, I love to meditate and do all that with the best of them, but I'm sitting here writing a book, making a documentary, doing this class. I have 2 classes I teach today, plus a couple clients, plus dun 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 dun. After it's all said and done, I'll be out with my horses, right? And suddenly it's 9 o'clock, and I'm going to start over tomorrow and do the same thing, because we'll have this, and then I have the energy healing for animals last class. I do a lot. So when an animal's older and suddenly you're feeding them water out of a little dropper. Hello. You've so powered down to be in that space. And if you can give yourself moments of that every day, all the other stuff you're doing that with grace, right? And again, we're making it better for everyone, for the young ones, because we have a sense of guidance. I call it in both of my books being an emotional leader. So, I mean, it's State of Grace is a really, 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 it can be painful, but it's truly delicious. And then I know that yesterday somebody asked about the opportunity, the window of opportunity to leave, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that. You know, and then I've got a story to share. Where are we on time?
We have 18 minutes.
Okay, well, good.
The person that Carrie Walski, she asked the question.
That's right.
If there are multiple exit points at which we or our beloved can leave, are they aware of that choice, or how is this choice made? I have trouble getting my head around this. Thank you for helping me better understand this.
Okay, so what I think about with something like that is, you know, have you ever had an experience where you know you almost died, right? Like an accident, or you could have died, or 1 second you were this close to dying, or somebody came in and did something terrible to you, or you came off a horse, or something happened to you where you were so close to death and you felt it in every cell of your being.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you didn't see it before. I mean, some of us have those moments. Like, I actually had a day where it was like, I should not get on that horse today. Of course, that was the day I broke my leg in the LA River and cussed all the way out of it because my horse had run off. My leg was broken in a million pieces. And I had my friend take my boot off so that the fireman wouldn't cut it off, because I just spent $400 on new boots, brand new boots. Anyway, that's the horse person I am. But the point is, I knew that I narrowly escaped death that day because I almost hit my head. My horse fell on me in the LA River. I could have drowned. I could have, you know what I mean? A million things could have gone another direction. I was a victim of a heinous crime. Abby's over there sleeping, and it ain't a state of grace.
She's snoring.
Anyway, so we all have these opportunities, that window of opportunity where we could have left. And generally, our soul has the information that we catch up to in a moment. So maybe we have more we have to do on this planet. I often think of people and animals that have died early or, kind of unexpectedly. It's like they really completed their karma for this lifetime in this body, in this experience. And I know that's really hard to hear when you've had somebody that just got hit by a car or something, or been taken by a coyote. But the truth is, they had such a complete experience, they could go in a really easily and effortless manner. And it may not have been easy, but it must have been quick. And I always think that those things are a real blessing. And on top of it all, it's you were part of that completion, right? You were such an effective person with them that they were able to complete everything that soul needed to complete in this lifetime. And that's a blessing, I mean, I hope that the only reason I'm going to live a long life is that I have a lot of work to do to help. I hope it isn't because it's a bunch of penance. I'm kidding. I know it's not. But, right? Like, I remember when I first moved to LA in the 80s, everybody was waiting for the big one. The big earthquake. So we're all looking around this week.
Like they do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she just did a little good luck thing. So everybody was waiting for that, right? So my sister had just died of cancer, and it was 6 months, and it was grueling. She lost her sight, she lost her this, she lost her that. So when people would say to me, "Oh my God, aren't you afraid of the big one?" I'm like, no, not really. Well, what if you're under a freeway overpass? And I just would always say, it'll be fast, right? Like that to me some of these fast deaths, as much as I think about it all the time because I fly all the time, and I think, well, all right, 5 minutes of terror if it were a plane crash versus 6 months of cancer, I'll take it, you know. And I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I don't want a prolonged thing. I might end up having one, and if I do, I'll make the best of it. I'll try to stay in a state of grace. But I think that these animals that have had a quick exit have had a really full and complete experience, and that we were part of gifting that completeness for them. And so there are a million opportunities probably. I mean, I know we'd narrowly, Delilah and I we were out hiking one day, and 2 dogs came out of nowhere and pinned her down, and she got out of it, wiggled out of it. Abby and I ran home. I didn't know if she was alive or not. She ran so fast, and the people whose dogs it were that had, you know, let their dogs off leash, knowing that they had, you know, aggressive dogs, you know, they were like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I don't have time to talk about this. I ran all the way from the middle of, out in the riverbed there, all the way home, and found Delilah sitting with the horses. But that was a moment that just the wrong, that could have been the end of her, right? So even they have a karma that's such that it's like, not yet. Okay, she's going to live some more time, right? And I don't know how else to explain it. I have more to talk about, but I'm hoping that helps.
She says she's listening.
Okay, good. Yes.
Someone asked.
So I've got a big story to tell.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just how do you get over the guilt or deal with when you didn't, in the past, when you didn't handle it well? Or I'm trying to find the...
I love that question.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like for me, this work and this thing we're doing right now, of helping people do it in a different way and helping us find ways to be really present with our animals when we know it's the end, and be present with our animals even when we don't know if it's the end, is my way of making up for it. And I feel like there are a million places that you'd probably be able to help others also, once you get past some of the guilt and grief of your own. And it's just it becomes a continuum that, like, I've been in the room with so many people when they've died, and animals, that I feel like a midwife. And for me, that's part of letting go of it, is, you know, I talk to them, even as recently as the other day, because I've got everybody's pictures out, and we're scanning them into the computer, and, like, I'm doing all this stuff to kind of honor my family and get rid of some of the stuff, send family stuff to my brother, because he's got little kids and he should have the physical pictures of the family. And also I want it out of my house. Don't tell Mike that. Anyway, my point is, I spend time talking to them as I'm looking at their pictures, you know, and they don't want me to sit and feel guilty about it. They love what I'm doing. So you can find a way, even if it isn't going to be this extreme, like write a book, do a documentary, teach a class. You're going to find a way to give back. Maybe it's with elder dogs at the shelter, or, you know what I mean? Like, you'll find ways. This is a week of finding, opportunities, different ways to do it.
Irene Kuzenhuis says that the actual letter, writing the love letter, helped her with her guilt. So,
yeah.
And that was Robin Elias that asked that question.
Okay.
I just wanted to make a shout out to her. She says, I don't feel guilty, but I still have so much grief and sadness. So it's...
Yeah, it's the ebb and flow. You'll have, just really find the joy, because you have to find release and relief in it. And this is a really good story. My friend Eleanor sent this to me, so I wanted to read this. About her grandmother. So Eleanor, her grandfather passed away in a suicide bombing, and her grandmother was in so much shock and grief for so long. and she felt like she had nothing to live for. She was living over in Israel, and Eleanor's parents had moved to the U.S. Many years prior, and so nobody was living there with her grandmother when the suicide bombing had happened. So the shock and grief were just horrific, and her grandmother fell into a deep depression, was constantly in and out of the hospital, and was really, really, really trying to die. And so Eleanor decided to move there in her mid-20s, and had visited her often, and she started to liven up. And she would get out of bed and go to the market, really small steps, and she had this ritual where she would visit her on Friday afternoons and Saturday mornings, and the grandmother would always have a bag of fresh fruit for her. They spent holidays together, and she really had a whole new purpose, her grandmother did. And so, though she was still depressed and didn't want to leave her house, she started participating in activities in her assisted living home, and arts and crafts, and musicals, performances. And then Eleanor got married and had a baby, and so she got to know her great-granddaughter really, really well. Tamara was the baby, is still the baby. I just met her. She's 7-year-old baby. And anyway, but they continued on with the Friday and Saturday rituals, and Tamara even took her first step in her grandmother's home. So her grandmother lived another 12 years beyond when her grandfather had passed.
Wow.
And she stopped trying to die, and she felt bonded to other humans. So I'm going to sit here and cry.
Yeah.
And again, she had a sense of purpose. And so then when Eleanor got divorced and moved back to the U.S., her grandmother lived for another 2 years and then quietly passed away. But those 12 years together were really that state of grace, right? Like that is exactly. And it was a wonderful time for Eleanor because she didn't grow up around her grandparents, so she got to know them. And it was a really wonderful time for Tamara, and Tamara got to experience her great-grandmother, and now she lives with Eleanor and sees her grandparents regularly. So that is a really beautiful human version of what the state of grace can do. And it doesn't have to be all day every day, but it can be like that ritual of I'm going to go on Fridays and Saturdays, and I'm going to get a bag of fruit, and I'm going to hang out. And so what I want to do for the next 24 hours when we come here tomorrow is I want you to, really participate in listening. Really listen to people around you. Listen to those moments. And if you can really see what it's like to listen, to not have to fix something, to just be available to people around you, be available to animals around you. And then I want you, if you have a big experience where you actually have kept your big mouth shut, like I tried to, if you've had a really profound experience with it, I'd love for you to share it in the group and just hashtag State of Grace. Or if you want to share your state of grace stories that you've had with your animals, or, maybe part of another love letter could be writing about how, you missed the opportunity for the state of grace, but in another way. Anyway, just really look at what a state of grace for the next 24 hours looks like for you. And tomorrow we're doing something really big. So we're all leading up to this, right? It's like the connecting with the joy, the bucket list for those that are here, the state of understanding the state of grace and how you can apply it even for the for the ones that are not even dying. So that's what we want to do. Are there any last comments? A few?
A lot.
How beautiful. Eleanor wants to thank you for sharing her story. It was a wonderful time. Total state of grace. She gave her, she says, I just gave her all my love.
That's so great. I'm going to cry.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this. I have an opportunity to be in the state of grace with Sasha. I love this. That's Wilma Mahoney. there's a couple more questions, but we don't have time to get to the questions right now because we have to teach class at 11.
I know I have to teach at 11 and I can't go over. But just know that tomorrow, when I say it's big, it's big. We're going to connect with our animals that have crossed over. So it's going to be a really beautiful, beautiful day tomorrow. And it'll be, kind of life-changing, I think. And again, for those that are still really dealing with epic grief and depression and loss and guilt, this will really shift that. And I wanted to build toward that. I didn't want to just start out that way, so that now that you know that we're going to do this tomorrow, you have time to prepare yourself. If there are things you want to share, if there are things you want to know about, get prepared. But also know that that we have a lot to gain and a lot to offer when we stay in that state of grace. So thank you for joining us.
Really quick, I just want to acknowledge Irene Cousin Haas. She says, just thank you. Having this class tonight is really helping me on this Liza's last night. She's in Europe and Liza's here with a friend.
Oh.
And so she's having to let go of her. I'm going to start crying. I just want Irene, just know that
we're all holding space with you.
Yeah, thank you for saying what I couldn't get out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.